watching 9/11 happen and having a little bit of an inflection point of like, what, like, this is crazy. Like, I know this is so cliche, but like the reality of it is like I watched the smoke rise and float over my home. Like, this just happened in my backyard. Like, let's go do something about this.
Welcome to the In the Field podcast, where we speak to veterans, service members, and those in the transition process to learn about their stories. Brett,
Hey,
thanks so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
When was the last time you had an MRE?
Man, it was back in 2017 when I was like just getting out, and I, of course, had parts and pieces of it. So I got to that point where eating a whole MRE was just too many calories for me. So
That's fair. Well, we got a great selection for you.
I
right
see
now.
this.
You get first pick. Guests always allowed to have
my God.
different packaging, different meals, all that.
My goodness. Look at this one. We got the beef patty.
Yep.
No, that's definitely not for me. This is it right here. Spaghetti and
beef.
Spaghetti and beef. I'm more of an Italian MRE type of guy. I don't know. Like, that's my thing. What else is there? There's really
Beef shred and barbecue.
beef shred. Ooh. I'm trying to watch the carbs.
Okay.
So, the barbecue sauce.
We can well, it's up to you.
What are these clear ones? Why are they clear in the back?
These are the new ones apparently. Or I got knockoff MREs.
Yeah, this is horrible because the whole part of having MRE was like
You just don't know.
figuring out what was in it.
Exactly.
But now you're like, okay, M&M's, peanut. Yeah, sure.
I will say much easier to open.
Well, probably helps.
Yeah.
But can you fill the box of this to make a sand fortification like the other boxes?
Probably not.
Yeah. Is this a beef? No, I'm good with pasta.
All right, let's go
The
with that
OG
then.
one. Oh, so we're gonna open this up and eat it.
We will open it up and eat it. I forgot to take out my knife. If you have a problem opening it up, I can snag it. But let's see if
Let's see.
you were enlisted.
No, officer.
No, that's right. We both weren't MBA students. That's right.
Yes.
Cut
yes.
that. We'll do.
Yeah. No, leave it. This is interesting.
We'll leave it in. We'll leave it in.
By the way, I got it open.
I'm glad.
That's very amazing.
Wait,
are we doing the unveiling together? Like, I don't want to jump the gun here.
No, we can unveil
We're trying to
together.
have a nice conversation.
We can
but
unveil
I'm excited.
together. Yeah. I mean, it's an exciting time. I mean, if there's nothing like
Unveiling the innards
An
of an
MRE.
MRE. Yeah.
There's a few differences you'll probably be able to tell. They're not individually packaged in cardboard anymore. But
Good
a
for the
lot of the
environment.
snacks are the same. I'm always getting these like orange base powders.
Chocolate chip toaster pastry.
Ooh, that is a new one. That's not
Yeah.
bad. I've had
That's
it
like
now.
a
It's pretty good.
Pop-Tart, right?
Wait, is this just
Raisins.
black beans?
Mm.
Tortillas?
Cheese spread. Okay, I'm already figuring
With
out what we're
bacon?
gonna. See, this is what we're ready to trade. Like, if I had the bacon or the jalapeno, I'd be down. But this is just pure
Just-
play on this one.
Just cheese spread.
Yeah.
Not with
Very
every
weird.
single cheese spread I've seen so far has been the one. Oh,
What did you have? Something good? VIP.
cheese spread with jalapeno.
That's the one.
There you
Want
go.
to swap?
Yeah, I'll swap.
The
with you.
bartering has begun.
There you go. I'll take that one.
Awesome. Chocolate hazelnut protein. I didn't know hazelnuts contained protein, but
I've seen now applesauce with energy.
Yeah.
I've seen.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's just a whole bunch of innovation going on right now.
Here it is.
In the MRE world. Oatmeal cookie. I may have had this
Italian
one before.
breadsticks. I've never seen this before.
I may. Wait, you got out 2017. I
Yeah.
got out 2015. I could have sworn I've gotten that one before, but I might be
This was
misremembering.
remarkable. I don't know, man. I didn't do many of them back in the day.
Well, we have a smorgasbord for us.
I don't even know where to
And
start.
then obviously the classic package of coffee. What's it
You have
called?
any sauces?
No,
No
sauces?
Tabasco, right?
No, we did get it in one of them though. I've been now a few episodes with no Tabasco sauce. I did have one episode with powdered
Hot powder?
hot
Yeah.
seasoning, which I've never seen before.
Never seen that.
All right, let's maybe start with snacks. You know what's another thing actually that I haven't seen? The energy mints or energy gum that used to be in some of the MREs. I used to live off of
Probably
those.
like too dehydrating to be like mass provided.
That's just big MRE.
Yeah, big
trying to
MRE,
big
keeping
MRE
us
trying
down.
to keep us down. So as we break into all of this, I would love to hear the story of Brett, but not just the story of Brett. How did you get into the service, right? Like, what were the deciding factors you in high school on the decisions you were making?
Well, actually, it's I would say like one of the biggest influences. So I graduated high school in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in New York. If you
Man.
go back a year, 2001, 9/11, downtown Manhattan.
Was that the deciding factor for you, or did you already think that you were maybe going to serve?
I was debating it, and I was lucky enough to have a brother lead the way. He ended up going to West Point. He was a wrestler. He got recruited.
How old was he?
He was 3 years older than me.
Okay.
So he was like 2 years in at the point, and I was like, I'm not that guy. I'm gonna go to some like SUNY college.
Yeah. Why did
join
you
a
think
fraternity? Well, I was always like the more easygoing, more
Right.
not taking things too seriously type of guy, and I
Okay.
just did not picture myself in the military because, like, I always pictured like uptight, like my brother, like the guy who
like,
didn't drink
buttoned
until
up?
he was 21. He was
Right.
like into martial arts and wrestling and running, and he was like good at everything he did, and it
Mhm.
kind of bugged me. Things came easy to him, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go to like Binghamton and just hang out with my
Right.
buddies, like 13th grade for Long Island.
Did you play sports?
I was a wrestler too.
Okay.
It was good, but it was not nearly as good as he was. Like he was like top tier. I was like good enough to like, do my thing. But like I was also a musician. So I played piano. I was in the band, the orchestra. And I was like, and that was another reason. I was like, the military is like too buttoned up and not creative enough. And
Right.
I saw myself more as the more like humorous creative type.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the more like intense athlete. And I was like, okay, cool. And I think it was a mixture of watching 9/11 happen and having a little bit of an inflection point of like,
Mhm.
like this is crazy. Like I know this is so cliche, but like the reality of it is like I watched the smoke rise and float over my home, and I was like, what is going on? And secondarily, like I watched the relationships that he made with his classmates, the opportunities and experiences he got to do, and like he was going to Uzbekistan for his like some field trip where his shoes got stolen. He was doing all kinds of cool things. I was like, you know what? This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I think that is what started to like open my eyes to the opportunity. And then the real catalyst was like, damn, like this just happened in my backyard. Like,
Right.
let's go do something about this.
When that happened, though, I mean, you said you weren't necessarily the go-getter. I don't know, maybe that's not the right word, but I mean, I guess you must have at least had the grades or enough to get by, right? Because I mean, West Point's not a necessarily easy school to get into. And then beyond that, were you looking at the other academies, or because of your brother, you knew West Point was going to be the route that you wanted
Well,
to go?
this is a good one. So as I was getting like really, it was like 11th grade-ish. I was like,
Right.
you know what? Like firming up. It was 2001. So I was like, I loved flying. I was a big pilot enthusiast when I was a kid. I went to all the classes. I flew a few small airplanes. I was like, I want to go to the Air Force Academy. So I did apply to the Air Force Academy. I got in.
Okay.
And I went and visited, and then I also applied to West Point, got in, got the nomination, and I was sitting there like,
A good problem to have.
do I still want to go to like SUNY Binghamton?
Yeah.
So, and that's essentially like, it almost started as a competition with my brother. Like, if he can get in, I can get in. And I was planning on just like pumping the brakes once I got in, saying like, well, if he could do it, I could do it, but I'm just not going to follow through. And then I kind of felt obligated to follow through once I understood like the opportunity I have in front of me. And it was really interesting. I was up visiting West Point, talking to the wrestling coach, one of the like officers in charge of the wrestling team.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, you went and saw the Air Force Academy. What'd you see? I was like, a whole bunch of like airplanes on sticks. He's like, when you drove in West Point, what'd you see? And I was like, people on sticks or like people on statues? And he was like, do you want to be part of a service that venerates its machinery or its people? And that's
a pretty
with
good
me.
line. That's
Yeah,
a good
he
line.
probably used it a
Did
ton.
he get a commission out of that?
I think he got
somebody
like,
must have fed them
yeah,
that line.
the recruiter on base got him an extra, I don't know, but it worked. Like it honestly, like it got to the point where it's like, all right, like I'm also from New York. There's a whole bunch of considerations, like close to home. My brother was there, and I was like, I better get aviation if I go to West Point, and luckily I did.
How was that process? Did you have to stack rank it?
Yeah.
Did you know before you were getting in, or
No,
was that a mystery? Those 4 years of service, or 4 years of being at the academy?
Yeah, it's a gamble. So you end up doing order of merit list for everything, whether it's like shining your shoes or like being on time.
Yep.
So I took like the easiest major possible to hedge my bets to
What
make
was your
sure
major so you can make a
environmental geography.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Very useful. I use it every day.
I was gonna say it sounds like
Yep.
we can flash.
Yeah, I've intertwined all things geography into my life. Not really though. But I got A's and B's, which got me higher in the order of merit list, which led to me being able to select the branch of my choosing, which happened to be aviation.
Okay. How was your time at West Point?
It was a tough time. I ended up losing my father senior year, right at the beginning of senior year
Of high school or
of West Point.
Of West Point. Okay.
So it was all fun and games. I think two things kind of really shook me towards the end of my term there is I was there from 2002 to 2006.
Mhm.
So if you think about the wars going on, what was happening, every time that an upperclassman that recently graduated would get killed in action, we would have like a moment of silence in the mess hall during lunch. And these things started to happen on like a semi-regular basis.
Right.
And it like feels like you're walking up to the cliff and you're about to go jump off and see if you're going to make it. And like that really like started to strike me and give me some thought about like, hey, we're playing for keeps. This is not just a sport, you know? And then my father passing away when I was a senior, it was like, all right, life is real. Like loss is real. Like I saw it all around me. I saw it in my family. And then my brother ended up getting deployed and he got blown up a few times. Luckily he was fine. He got injured, but not terribly. But like all these things were happening at the same time. And I was really starting to be like internalizing that like we are in a war. This war is real and the enemy has a say. And it definitely like the gravity changed. Like going there in 2002, we knew things were erupting with Afghanistan. You know, we're just getting my freshman year during spring break, the big Thunder, you know, the shock and awe campaign that was happening. And I was like, oh, I guess we are going to Iraq too. And like all these things were adding up. And I was just like, okay, like, and even then, like when I got in, we were in bad dudes, like BDUs, and we had no armored Humvees. So
it
like
was basically Gulf War round
Vietnam,
two. I mean,
it was
in
like
terms of equipment, how we were thinking. I don't think coin was even quote unquote invented during that time, or at least the early 2000s.
It was wild because we started like teaching about IEDs, like at like just like people that were coming back were like, hey, you all need to know about this.
Yeah,
and like that's the education that started happening like in between the formal education because. You know, the Army, it's big. It takes a while for like TRADOC to like get up to speed on what's happening. And there was no curriculum on how to deal with these type of events. So the NCOs and the officers that were rotating into West Point were the ones teaching us, this is what I saw last year. This is what you need to be ready to do, like completely off script.
We don't have to talk about this. And so feel free to say no, we can cut it. Did you at any point second guess while you were in the service or while at West Point? I can only imagine the amount of stressors, not just what's happening to your classmates that are graduating, but then with what happened to your father, just saying like, I'm good. Like I'm done here. And then even hearing the stories from your brother, was there any, if not maybe self-doubt, just contemplation of, is this the path I should be taking?
You know, honestly, like I was like, I want to go aviation. That much more. Like I felt like I got that. I was, you know, this was like 3 years in. 2-3 years in. I put so much into getting through what I got through that like that never crossed my mind. I was like, I need this. I need to have this behind me, not something I don't finish. And you know, I think my original impetus to going there was knowing that like stuff was brewing. Like I was the first class post 9/11 to like sign up. Knowing that like things were brewing. So like I kind of went through the math, but here's the crazy thing. I think a young man of that age, I didn't have the facilities that I have today. I didn't have like that risk
you just don't know.
processing. I'm just like, all my friends are here. They're all I better graduate with them. Like, let's go do it.
I mean, so I'm 31. I was in elementary school when 9/11 happened. So I remember it. I have the memories of being picked up, watching it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, young enough that I think didn't fully understand the implications
Mm-hmm.
of what was happening. Then in high school, I enlisted 2010, my junior year. It was this weird kind of element of 9 years in the past. I do remember it. I have memories of it. I knew quasi how I felt and saw the reactions of the other adults around me. But kind of to your point of being kind of young and naive, it was just this is a thing to do. Like I should sign up, or there's this thing that happened and I'm joining this thing larger than me. But what the exact implications of it were, I don't know. And what's even crazier is I had watched Restrepo I think that came out my junior year.
It's a tough one to watch.
And that's an incredibly tough one. And in a weird way, it motivated me even more to join, where not maybe any sane person, but like you watch that and you kind of leave that going like, man, this is real. That there are real implications of what's going on. And I don't think I fully processed it as a teenager, as a young adult. And what's even crazier is I got stationed with the 173rd right after that. That's my first duty station. And I had friends that were on that deployment. But I mean, I think there's good and bad, right? I mean, to some extent, at 18, 19 years old, it's probably better to not fully grasp the severity of what's going on. And sometimes ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is better to just say, listen, I don't know everything, but I do know that I want to do this. And I know that there's some nebulous thing that I should be a part of.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think it didn't, like, it took me 4 years at West Point, like a year and a half at flight school, and like a 6 months to whatever to get like spun up on my aircraft in my unit. And like, it really wasn't real to me until I'm flying into Bagram. And like that first night we have a big mortar attack. And I was like, oh, this is real. Like all the way through that, like 6, 7 years, I'm sitting here being like, all right, I know what's going to happen. But until you're in it, like you don't truly, it's always like a notional scenario that you just don't believe is, you don't have an emotional connection to. You don't have any, like, I don't know, cognition of like, this is legitimately like scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you go through training, right? I mean, you go through something and it's notional fire, notional indirect and all that other stuff. You're like, okay, yeah. When it actually does happen, there is a very jarring realization of the things that were to happen. I mean, even on my deployment, we flew into Fob Shank, and they do the whole, these are IEDs, this is what you look for. And it's just like, oh, it's a crushed up water bottle. It's a, plastic bag. And you're like, oh, cool. It's trash.
Yeah.
But then you go on your first mission outside of the wire and, oh, there's trash everywhere.
Yeah.
It's like everything. And
this
then
is not helpful.
Yeah. And then you just go, well, I guess I just have to turn off my brain.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point, you're just like, I'm either going to go crazy thinking everything is an IED, or I just assume nothing is, or whatever's going to happen is going to happen.
Yep.
And then when you hear the first like round coming in, you're like, oh, right. Yeah.
It's not
like, hopefully my training
round.
is exactly like, I hope the training really kicks in. Yeah. At least on my end, the training did kick in well.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think the military does do a good job, at least at preparing most people for those scenarios, but it is still a stark realization when it happens. Yep. Going back though, so you get aviation. Did you know what you were going to fly?
No. So the way it works is you essentially do another order of merit list through flight school, through your primary classes, to determine who gets to pick first.
Yep.
And then you all go into a classroom, and like Department of Army is like, we got 4 Blackhawks, 1 Apache, 1 Chinook.
Yep.
And okay, number 1 on the list, what do you want? All right, Chinook, that's gone. Who wants next? So there was actually a moment in time where I was an Apache pilot, like on paper. For like
notionally, a
yes.
notional Apache pilot.
And then we're all going back to our cars, and I was like, I cannot believe I'm going to be doing this, because I wanted Blackhawks or Chinooks.
Okay.
And they go, hey, everybody come back here. Oh, we had the numbers reversed, and I was like, oh my goodness. And then I ended up with Blackhawks.
Okay.
But what I was trying to get the entire time, I was a big airplane guy, and that's why I wanted the Air Force. There's a small contingent of fixed wing aircraft in the Army.
I was gonna say there's like 2 or 3 of them, or like 2 types of aircraft that you could fly. They're like not satellites, like Intel.
Intel. So the guardrail, Intel, the guardrail common sensors, and Intel one. Then they have like the C-12, which is like a VIP transport one. We do have some like Citations, which are like small jets, and Gulfstreams, which are larger jets, but those are like just straight VIP transport. But I ended up, because I got Blackhawks, I ended up getting the opportunity to kind of vie again for the fixed wing slot. Right. I ended up getting it
because of
they were only accepting Blackhawk pilots to fixed wing because they're the most numerous pilots.
Oh, so there's enough. But then you went through flight training and then got to select, or is it during flight? Because I mean, flying fixed wing and rotary wing are very different.
Yeah. So you do your primary, then you go through selection for advanced aircraft, and then I went through advanced aircraft. And as I was going through advanced, I was able to get a slot for fixed wing training.
That's fascinating. And so when you got the fixed wing aircraft, where you're like, weight off the shoulders, or
so at that point, not only did I get my airframe, but you get full set of orders for your PCS orders. I got Germany fixed wing, which is like the coolest combination of, to me at least, aircraft and duty assignment, because I wanted to go Oconus.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But so before we jump into that, food.
Yeah.
We've got I've got oatmeal cookie. You've got Italian flatbread.
Italian breadsticks.
Italian breadsticks.
Better or worse than Olive Garden? What do you think?
Over under. I'm gonna say.
No. I already know what this is. This is like wheat snack bread. Perforated into 4 pieces.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit of oregano, or no?
Oh, yeah. There's something green in there.
Yeah. Ooh.
You know what? This is, I need to have like a beverage ready to go on this. This is going to like suck my mouth dry.
Yep. We did do the pizza one recently.
That's got some flavor to it. You know what this needs? This needs a little jalapeno cheese spread.
I was going to say, that'll be a good addition to it. This oatmeal cookie is legitimately very, very good.
The cookies are always good. You want me to? I'm gonna try. You want to try a piece of this? We'll exchange.
You don't have to, but
but we should.
That's
I can imagine this dunking in the sauce of the spaghetti right here. That'll make me happy.
We'll give it a go. It's funny because we got Joe's Pizza coming, like one of the best pizzas.
I walked by that on the way here.
And as we're eating MRE style, we learned. And I'm so disappointed. The MRE pizza,
no bueno. No.
Very dry. I assume it was going to be like an Elio's, or like lunchroom style pizza.
Was it like make your own? You get like a flatbread and then
not even like a Lunchable style.
I know. I love those Lunchable.
They should have just thrown in like a Lunchable. That would have been better.
Lunchables solved MREs years ago. We just don't want to play it.
I did the tuna, and that was
too much tuna.
Like Sunkist tunas, Reese's Pieces. Straight up, like, I could just grab this at the store.
Yeah, I used to do the Franks and beans. That was a horrible idea. Well, it traveled well. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I did a lot of tuna as well.
Yeah.
Like the class 6 on the way out, wherever you're going, or like, you just get that. Oh,
it's not bad. Sometimes when you're hungry, you just need.
Yeah, whatever. You just got to eat food. Get those calories in. Got to chew the gum. Make sure you can go to the bathroom afterwards.
I don't think I heard of that. Maybe I did, and I just forgot. It's been 10 years. So, one of our guests brought that up, and I'm like, was that a thing? Like,
I think that's the thing. I think ultimately, like spearmint or winter, something like helps your digestion, and I think it's kind of been exaggerated into like, if you don't eat the gum, you don't poop.
Right.
But
we'll fact check that here.
Yeah, we'll fact check that. Yeah.
But I'm gonna believe you.
I don't believe myself. Well, I have chosen not to and to eat the gum, and I don't know.
We can try it today, and you can report back, and we'll put your response right.
If you're going to do a whole MRE on a weeknight, I'm pretty proud of you.
A little movie magic. We do not eat the whole thing. Well, so actually, before we get into it, heated or unheated MRE?
Heated every time. You can also tell someone's branch by whether they heat or unheat. Real combat arms folks are probably going to be not heating.
A lot of them did. Our Air Force guy.
Me as a pilot, I found warm spots to put those things.
So how many times did you actually eat MREs? Because I mean, I feel like from at least on the Air Force side, I think they had each flight catered.
Okay, so
And which plane were you on?
yeah, I was in the RC-12 King Air. It's a King Air variant.
Is that like a dual
propped? It looks like a porcupine. It has all these antennas sticking off of it. It was gray.
Okay.
And I didn't eat a ton of MREs doing the aviation side of things.
Yeah.
I had a short stint as an ROTC professor at an aeronautical university.
And that's where you had the MREs?
I ate more MREs in cadet command than I did in my entire life.
As an instructor?
Yeah.
Why?
I hated it. It's just because they were sending us to Fort Knox for summer training. I'm working with the cadets on field problems and all that stuff. So like, I did all the infantry HUA stuff as an ROTC guy.
And you're like, put me back in the plane.
Put me back in the air. I need my airplane.
Yeah. Did the King Air have a bathroom in it?
It had a Gatorade cooler, like an orange Gatorade bucket.
Yeah.
That was for emergencies only.
Okay.
And then there was a thing called a pilot relief horn, which was like looked like a funnel connected to a tube, had a trigger on it, and the trigger would open a hole to the outside of the airplane, and the pressure.
So you did pee on people.
Yeah, it would. What do they say? It went straight from the liquid to a gas. Yeah,
I guess at that. What you're flying at 30,000 or higher, lower? Or?
All over. Like we're high, we're pressurized. Okay. It would spray and it would evaporate by the time it got down. Like I wasn't. It wasn't
enough. You're doing low
passes with a horn engaged. Yeah, show of force.
Exactly. What's the max speed of that? They just cruise. And
we're hanging on the flaps, just like spraying and praying, literally.
Oh man. How was your time then? I mean, it sounds like the service for you. I mean, you got your fixed wing, you got the aircraft you kind of wanted.
Yeah.
How long were you in for? And I mean, it seems like you did a little bit of shifting around being an instructor.
I was in for like probably longer than everybody expected me to be in.
Yeah.
Like I hit my 10-year reunion. I go back and everybody's like, "You're still in?" Like, that's a surprise. I was like, "What does that mean?" Is that
like,
what?
Should I be offended?
Yeah. Thank you. I don't know what kind of backhanded comment that was, but okay. So I did fixed wing in Germany.
Grafenwehr or
Wiesbaden. I was in Wiesbaden for 3 years.
Map right here. Okay.
Yeah, and then I moved over to Hohenfels.
Okay.
So I took command in Germany on my first assignment to do the drone command. Right? I call it drone because I'm a civilian now, but UAS proper.
Yep.
I was able to do a really cool like detached organization outside of my headquarters. And I was in one of these unique units that was doing a capabilities-based rotation where we were always deployed.
Right.
So when I took command, a third of my soldiers were in Afghanistan, in Jalalabad, third were in Germany, and a third were in the U.S. doing flight training at some of our sister units in like Texas and Savannah. And I really, that was like one of my favorite jobs, being a company commander.
Right.
Like jumping between the U.S., Germany, and Afghanistan, continuous flight operations across all 3 locations. Like that was really fun.
How is it though? I mean, it's I feel like you're never jet lagged. I mean, you're just consistently either tired or on the clock.
Yeah. You're just constantly going.
Yeah.
And like what was really like one of my big like milestones for my time as company commander was I wanted to bring training back to Germany, and we weren't allowed to fly because they upgraded our aircraft, required the runway to be longer than our current runway in Germany for the drone.
Oh, for the drone. Oh, I thought they had pretty short takeoff. Oh,
these were big ones.
Weak engines, so they need just longer time to.
Yeah, these were actually pretty big ones. Okay. So they were called Hunters, MQ-5 Bravos, and they had like pusher puller props. They were like Israeli drones from back in the day.
Right.
But they needed they beefed up the engines a little bit, made them a little bit heavier. They needed a little bit more runway, and then we would end up having to send our guys to Savannah or Fort Hood back in the day, and so they would be deployed from their families for 6 months, come back and immediately have to like rotate back to the States for training. So they weren't seeing their family at all. So I was like, you know what? Let's figure out a way to get these guys flying in Germany so they don't have to leave their family every time they need to get currency.
Yeah.
So the big push was working with the garrison commander, figuring out like where we can go. We ended up having to like do like a big convoy to Vilsec and using Vilsec's strip that they use as like a roadway during like morning, like coming to work time.
Right.
And we turned that into a
So all the morning commuters were just really happy
us.
with you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't get to work. We're
nobody thought we could do it. They were like, "What do you? You guys are like UAV aviators. Like, there's no way you're gonna do a convoy within Germany because I don't know if you've ever been stationed in Germany. There's a ton of rules.
I was in Italy, so we did training rotations, Grafenwehr, Hohensfeld. I did JFO and Ramstein. So
good old Hohenfels.
The old convoys of the Carabinieri, and then whatever the German police are called.
Bundeswehr, or the Polizei. Yeah, so you always have to have like an escort and all these things. But we jumped through all those hurdles. We got the airspace approved. We did it, and like it was a big milestone. And at the same time, doing that, we were down in Afghanistan, like cooking off on the mission, doing some cool things.
What year was this?
2011, 2012.
Okay. Yeah,
right in the mix.
So we were actually. I may have been. Well, I for sure was definitely in Germany at the same time as you. If you were there, just for training rotations and all that with the 173rd.
That was they were up in Vilsec, right? Didn't they have a
they had
the two ACR?
Yeah. They had a regiment up there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna completely misspeak. It's been
Strikers.
Yeah, that sounds right. Let's actually get these things heated. Actually,
are you gonna do the whole? Like, I was told not to do this inside. Like, this is like
it's
the big.
Fine. We've done it before. We've got a rock or something. There's enough ventilation here.
Yeah. Okay.
You've got insurance, right?
Yeah, good enough. Okay. You know, I work at a startup now, so
we just
I have some VA insurance too.
There we go. Yeah. We just signed some of our business insurance. So
don't even talk me. Don't even get me started.
Shout out vouch.
Do you know business insurance for what I do is a ridiculous amount of money per year?
Well, for the size that we're at, it's insanely high.
We're talking like almost 200K.
Okay, I was complaining about like 14K.
Yeah,
on just insurance.
By the way, if my insurance broker is listening to this, please help us.
Please get your who do you guys use?
StartSure. It's another little startup that really focuses on startups.
Huh.
They're good folks.
We've been using Vouch because I don't want to fill out the paperwork for.
Yeah, the paperwork and even the annual renewal.
Ours
is going down though as we like perform and exist as a broker dealer.
So they definitely de-risk. They're like, your premiums are going to be insane until you prove that you can actually.
I think I overfilled this rookie mistake.
I mean, you're an officer.
Yeah. Usually, anything. You know. Oh my god! I feel like we have to put it down here, right?
Yeah.
I'm creating chaos.
That's the or something part.
Yeah.
And then we'll get just a little bit of the. I mean, as an enlisted guy, I feel like I should be good at it.
You should be helping me.
Having been out for 10 years, I feel like you lose. It's like use it or lose it. You know,
I'm just glad I got this open without a knife. Like back in the day, that was half the battle.
Yeah.
I'm just like
keep cooking. What did I have? Why do I have tortillas?
What's your main?
I forget what we got here.
You're like, it will be warm soon. That's all I know.
Shredded barbecue.
Oh, you know what? You're supposed to make like a taco out of this, like a shredded barbecue taco.
But usually then it's like, like Mexican style beef shred or something like that.
We don't. Why do we need to label it? Like, just eat it up, man.
I've been saying that for a while.
Oh, that smell of that magnesium powder cooking off.
Great. It's good.
What my cadets didn't realize, I could smell that a mile away when they were. I'm like, you cannot use the heating pad. And I smell it a mile away. I'm like, these
the
jokers.
Smell of nostalgia.
Yeah.
No, it's when they realized that like smoke pits or not smoke pits, burn pits were bad for you.
Oh yeah. You're like, it smells like a campfire. Always. It's like, well, now you're on a list.
Well, we were deployed and we're like literally burning batteries and just everything. And it's like, it's like green and talk about naivete as an 18, 19-year-old. I'm like, it's like green and purple.
Dude.
Years later, that's because like this is horrible for you.
Yeah. Why is it when it lights on fire and it's not red or not orange? It's a problem.
Yeah.
Dude, even for me, I was in Bagram. I was doing like I'm going to do a whole loop around Bagram and go for a jog.
Yeah.
And I'm just like going right by the burn pit. I'm just like this thick as thick smoke. I was like, oh well, it smells like nice campfire.
Yeah.
I'll run through this.
I was when I was in BFIS working on the Bradley. They were like whatever, the goop, the oil, the whatever thing that keeps the engine going, or whatever. I forget what even piece it was. They're like, you literally actually have to wear gloves for this thing. And if it gets on your skin, like get it off immediately. I'm like, well, that's cool. All right, I'll keep track of that. Then in Germany, we were fixing, like, I don't know, it was like battery acid or something. Some drops got on my pants, and the next day, I'm like, you know, you go to sleep in your pants in the sack, and then wake up and there's literally burn holes in my pants. I'm like, sick. That's fun.
No good.
Anyways, so far nothing.
Yeah,
I keep going up for my yearly checkup, and it's been fine so far. Not service related. That's all that matters for the VA.
Yeah.
So your rest of your time, I mean, you said you did about 10 years in
13. Yeah.
At what point did you realize?
Yeah. So
this is it for me, or I'm ready to get out.
I had a really good career going. So I got my company command early before like the captain's career course. Then my first sergeant when I was a commander was in the 160th prior. Okay. And they were setting up like a new drone unit, like a large UAS unit. And he was like, hey, you should go try out and like assess to the 160th. And I was like, again, like I'm more of an indoor cat type of guy, but like I like the UAS.
What is the 160th?
160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment. So they're like the pinnacle of like Army aviation.
Right.
And I am, so I was like, all right, yeah, let's do this. Yeah. And I like, they're like, all right, come to Fort Campbell to do the assessment. And they're like, all right, you passed, like, let's go do this. Yeah. And I did the captain's career course, and then I went straight into like being like the first officer to like kind of start up this unit. So I had to go out and like get facilities, get a hangar. Yeah. This was all in Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And that was like a pretty cool experience because it was like a startup within the Army. I was going to say,
it sounds exactly like a startup. It was like, hey, go figure it out.
Go figure it out. Budget. By the way, in 9 months, you need to have a unit in two locations in Afghanistan. So go do that. Yeah. And it was a great experience. Like we were getting the people on board, we were training them, we were getting the equipment, we were inventorying it downrange, we were getting it prepped down there. Like it was all happening so fast, and it was really fun. And then after that, they were like, "All right, close it all up and bring it to Fort Campbell." And I was like, "Oh, I just built this here in Fort Huachuca." I'm like, I think I'm done. Like I wasn't flying anymore. Like they didn't have the aircraft that I was supposed to fly. I didn't get to fly fixed wing. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to step back. My old battalion commander, when I was a company commander, was like, yo, I'm doing the USAPAT, which is the Gulfstream unit out of Washington, D.C. He's like, come be my S3. And then like that fell through last minute. And then HRC was like, all right, what do you want? ROTC or ROTC? And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Good old needs of the Army. And that was like the first moment where I was like, okay, like it's all not fun and gravy.
Yeah, you're at
Germany, 160th.
I was going to say, I mean, you had a very serendipitous or at least very lucky streak of getting the aircraft, wanted, getting the locations that you wanted.
Yeah.
I guess at a certain point,
luck dried up.
you're going to run out of a little bit of luck, especially within the military.
So that was like an eye-opening experience where like the best laid plans, even with like a by name request, just went kind of like unanswered. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm just a piece of equipment here to the Army.
Right.
And then after that, I ended up doing ROTC at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, which was cool.
Where's that?
It was in Daytona Beach. Okay. So cool location.
I was going to say, you're like, oh, my luck ran out. I'm in Daytona Beach.
Yeah. Oh my God. But like, like going back into a trade act unit after being in something as operational as 160th was jarring to say the least. And I did like it because it was an aeronautical university and like all those cadets wanted to be pilots. Yep. So like a lot of us were pilots, which was really cool to kind of like help get those kids through that process, keep them inspired. And then from there, I actually ended up losing vision in my right eye to an extent. And it was right during one of my flight physical windows. And they're like, yo, I don't think flying's in the cards for you, or at least now. We're going to have to like wait a few years to see if this thing heals by itself.
Did they know what it was?
Yeah, it's actually called pilot's eye. It's a type of condition where like it's high cortisol levels lead to like essentially a blister over your retina.
Okay.
And this happened to me. It ruined my vision in my right eye temporarily for like a few months where it was really bad. And I was actually like about to go back to a fixed wing unit in Japan, in Tokyo, and fly like jets, VIP jets. And they're like, with your eye condition, we don't want to invest in additional flight training for you. So we're going to just send you to Afghanistan for 13 months. And I was like, oh, what's my other option? It's like, no other option.
Yeah.
Like you go to Fort.
To fly in Afghanistan?
Oh, no.
Or just do something.
I was going to be part of an aviation unit, just being like an assistant to the assistant.
What a
S3.
juxtaposition. It's like go fly VIP aircraft in Japan, or
go to a task force in Afghanistan.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like,
push paper in Afghanistan.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Oh, wow. Which option?
And I was like, okay. And they're like, well, you could either do this. Well, I was going to go to Fort Leavenworth for the, I was a major at the time.
Okay.
I was going to go for CGSC, Command and General Staff School, college. But I was like, they're like, yeah, we just need you to go to that. And then I get locked in for another 2 years. Like I didn't have a commitment. I was like outside of all my ADSOs.
Interesting. So this is where I always find talking to officers is it's so much more unique with the way they structure contracts with you. And I won't go through the whole thing because one of the other podcasts I talk about it, but in the sense of like, it's, I think 4 years or 3 years is like the minimum that you can do. I think they maybe got rid of 3 year for enlisted now. And so when it got to a point where I needed to re-enlist, I had said, can I just extend my contract? Can I do like a 1 year thing or a 2 year thing? And they're like, nope, full contract.
Yo, man.
And you go,
that's too much.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So you had an opportunity to just do a kind of a 2 year thing.
Yeah. So the way it works is like, as an officer, you end up getting ADSOs. And this nomenclature,
what does ADSO mean?
Additional service
we'll put
obligation.
I'll Google it.
Yeah.
We'll put it up there.
So like essentially you're just constantly like paying back time as an officer.
Sure.
So after West Point, I owed like 8 years, 5 active, 3 inactive. But with aviation, they actually extended out to be 6 years after flight school. Then I did the captain's career course, and some of these things run concurrently. They're like prison sentences.
Yeah.
Some of them run concurrently, some of them do not. And just knowing which ones interact together. So I was essentially done with my captain's career course, ADSO, but I was about to be taking on the Command and General Staff College ADSO, which is a 2 year ADSO. So like most professional trainings as an officer are 2 year ADSOs. Like advanced civil schooling is like a way longer one. It's like 4 days for every 1 day in school or something like that. Right. Again, all subject to change. I'm talking about from years ago.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Somebody's
like,
showing up there. Like, that's not what it is.
Nobody listening take me for like an expert on any of this. I just remember what I went through.
We are quoting you for all
Thank
of
you.
This.
But yeah, so I ended up coming to the end of my required like additional service obligation.
Yeah.
And it was either re-up for 2 years and go to Afghanistan after I did CGSC or get out. And I was like, I don't know, this eye thing seemed pretty serendipitous as a signal for me to like really think like if I'm just going to be, and I was like recently married, debating whether I was going to start a family. And ultimately like I got to that point where I was like, wow, my life seems to be a series of multiple choice questions. Yeah. What if I wanted to have an essay response to something in my life? What is that going to look like? And I think that is what drove me to really start making some hard decisions around, all right, I've served, I've done what I've done. I was a major. I spent 13 years in the military. I hit my milestones. I made my impact. I had great command. Like this all went, and I was looking around. I'm like, what's the next step for me? Yeah. And grinding away as a major until maybe like a small chance of getting battalion command in like 8 years. Mm-hmm. Then I also thought to myself, what would I look like as like a 42-year-old guy trying to get out of the Army with no civilian experience?
Yeah.
That's terrifying.
To each their own, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm about to say is not meant to be a diss on anyone. I just remember being on a training rotation in Germany, and what are they called? Like the referees for the OCs or something. And I was talking to him.
OP4?
Or like it was
the ones that have like animals and Hohenfelds. Like they all have like a different like sigil.
I'm gonna tell this story horribly.
Yeah.
But I just remember talking to him, and for some reason it came up his age, and he was like, I'm 32, and this guy straight up looked like 55. Oh. And I just remember right then and there being like, I can't. I'm 19 right now. Maybe I was 18 at that point. I'm like, if this is
You're
what
like,
you're looking like.
it's gonna
at
age you quick.
32." Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I think I'll be good. But I think to some extent, like you, granted, I only did 4 years. I'm not trying to compare 4
Yeah.
to 13. It was just one of those things where what were the opportunities afforded to me, and do I really want to do that? And to a large extent, I felt like I'd done the things that I wanted to do. I went to some military schools. I did a deployment. I felt like I had earned the achievements that I wanted to earn. And at a certain point, you do have to have that realization of like, do I want to make a career of this, or at least be okay with the whims of the military?
Yeah.
Which is, you got to be really okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of great things. I don't want to, I'm not trying to bash the military or say that it's a bad route. But with anything in life, I mean, in the corporate world or even in the startup world, there are just certain things you have to go like, do I want to deal with the crappy part of this? Because there's crappy parts of anything in life.
You got to pay the piper no matter what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, to what extent do you want to have to pay that piper?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you were married. Did you have kids at this point?
No kids.
Okay.
I still don't have kids, but like getting married was also a material decision in getting out, right? Because like now I realized I was just like, I met her in Germany. She's German. Lisa, she's great. We've been married at like 12 years now.
Congrats. Können Sie Deutsch sprechen?
Yeah, ein bisschen.
Sehr gut.
Better when I lived over there. Definitely lost some.
Yeah,
but
it's tough.
Yeah, it is. Plus, our family all speaks English, so they always like coddles my American.
Yeah. Oh, the second you you're like you try.
Yeah.
They're
like,
no,
please, you're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, let me just speak.
We're not going to say anything, but we're going to say everything about what you're saying wrong. I'm like,
exactly.
Okay, well,
just know the curse words and know when they're talking bad about you.
I can understand it. So like,
there we go.
They'll speak German and I'll respond in English.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we operate when I visit.
I was born in Sweden, so a lot of my family on the Swedish side, I've made an effort to keep up to date with it to a certain extent, but a lot of times it's like it's sometimes just easier if it's a friend or somebody younger on my family side, then it's like, okay, you can speak Swedish. I'll respond in English. Yeah,
that's the way. It's a good way. It's nice.
Yeah,
I like living in it. Having an international family is really cool. Highly recommend it. Two things I always tell anybody: live internationally. Don't visit. Live internationally, and then try to expand either your friend group or if it is in the options to like expand your family internationally. Like, it's really cool.
Yeah.
Big takeaway.
It is really
That was my biggest souvenir from the Army, was being able to experience international living and then still be able to like go back. Like, I still go back to where I used to live. Like, one of my German buddies ended up renting my old apartment in Wiesbaden.
Wow. Yeah.
So I actually go back to my old apartment and hang out sometimes, which is like,
cool.
It's so weird now with me with a man bun, like as a civilian.
Well, I was going to say, I'm guessing you as a major, not necessarily wearing a bun.
No, not at all. So it's funny. People will be like, "Do I know you? Like, who are you?" And I'm like, "I was here like 10 years ago. Remember me?" And they're like, "Oh my goodness."
Do you have a photo that you can put next to you to be like, same person?
Yeah, I probably should be carrying that around because like it really is unbelievable how different I look with a beard and hair. But that's fine. I enjoy it. That's one of my things. I really haven't cut my hair since I got out. Just letting it ride.
That's a pretty cool memorabilia, I guess, or like there's, I don't know. I feel like there's a metaphor somewhere.
Yeah, there's something for that. Like, I think ultimately my hair is my decision now.
Yeah,
like a physical manifestation of me making my own decisions.
Yeah, so I don't go as far as you, but at least when I was in, and maybe this is an enlisted thing, maybe it's an officer thing, I don't know, but I always tried to push the regs as much as possible. And remembering it to a T of being like, it's, one ID length and it's like not touching the ear. But I would always push it because it was my slight way of being like,
your little silent process.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I got to wear the uniform. I got to do this. I got to do this. Like, what's the thing that's going to be mine? But now I guess I'm a pretty boring guy. So I guess I still do the kind of like low fade, or I keep it a little longer on the top.
A few more years will go gray and you'll just have the whole dad vibe going.
I don't wake up at 6 a.m. though anymore, or 5:30 in the morning. I push. I'm not a morning person whatsoever. And I feel like there's two types of veterans. There's the person who gets out. And I forgot to ask the Navy SEAL who it was on the other podcast of what time he wakes up, because I'm not wake up at 5 a.m, eat a bowl of nails and go run 8 miles. I'm like, no, I'm a night owl. Like, please don't wake me up early.
I think I'm a unique one in there. I'm an aspirational waker up earlier.
Okay. So you set the alarm.
I set the alarm every
so your
day.
wife must
6:15.
really love you.
Oh no, we have to get up at the same time actually.
Okay,
but like,
so it's
so 6:15 every morning. That alarm is set.
really,
Whether I do something about it,
yeah.
to be determined. But I like to pretend.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, I do. There from time to time, if I know I really need to wake up, I'll set it maybe 7:30.
Yeah.
Unless it's a flight. If it's a trip,
That's interesting because like you're now running a company and like
here's the thing. I'll go to sleep later. So I'll just
do your work at night and then
I'll
you
just do my
reload
work
it.
at night.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like I do the same amount of hours.
Yeah, unfortunately, like as things get rolling, that like I do things at night and in the morning now.
So you just it just bands up.
my sleep window is just closing in on me. That's essentially what's happening.
You don't need a kid then. That's
No, I have a
basically
dog.
like
that's all I need. He's
exactly.
he's a little cutie
all the
pie.
parents are gonna be like, that's nothing.
Yeah, the parents are like you don't know what it's like to have children. Yeah, I don't.
Do you have a dog?
I have a dog. I have a
Dual
puppy.
parent.
He's
you got two
the
kids.
best.
Startup and
My company is my baby.
Yeah.
Like honestly, I spend more time thinking about that than I should.
It's all
I don't recommend it to anybody.
so stressful.
But it's fun. It's so fun.
There's a little bit of being a sadist.
Yeah.
In order to enjoy what you do, or at least the startups. And I don't know. I'm fascinated as to whether or not, because there's this like question or something that comes up, like, like veterans make really good startup founders. And is it just like self-selection bias? Like, are the people who inherently go into the military the ones that are also potentially going to be good at just being startup founders? Is there something specific about the military that trains you to be good? I think it's everything, but I do think there's a level of like self-selection bias of the people who go into the military just inherently are going to be the same people who do startups.
I think there's actually, I personally have a thesis on this.
Okay.
You ready? This is
I'm
hot
ready
take.
for it. Yeah,
hot
yeah,
take.
yeah.
Brett's hot take. I think the military gives you just do a lot of stuff you don't want to do. And it's painful.
Yep.
And annoying and obnoxious. And you essentially like let go of like you being an individual and having like nice things.
Yep.
Like when you're a young civilian, it's all about like, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to be in a fraternity. Go for it. I'm going to have a good time. In the Army, it's like sadomasochistic in general. Yeah. Like you're like, well, I'm going to get up when I don't want. Yeah, I'm going to do PT no matter what is going on outside. I'm going to wake up early regardless of what day of the week it is. Like you just get conditioned to accept like not fun things, and you end up. I think it's a pseudo like sadomasochistic, but a little bit like you know how to sacrifice for like a broader mission, broader vision, right? And I think to be a true entrepreneur and like a startup type of person, you always have to have that like vision far out and let that inspire you. And if you are too transactional, you're too near in how you're thinking about things, and you start weighing like, is it worth the energy I'm putting it in today? The answer is hell no. But like
most of the time, it's not. Yeah, it's like, why should I be staying up till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning? It's like, no, just go to sleep.
Yeah.
But it's like there's that little voice in the back of their head going, either I need to prove to myself that I can do it, or I'm the only person who's going to do it.
Yep.
So therefore, it's falling on my shoulders. I have to, because they're not like somebody else isn't going to do it.
It's a mixture of resilience and grit.
Yeah.
And I think those are synonymous, but slightly different. Like, and I think like that the person that has successfully navigated just dealing with a bunch of crap in the military, it can be the same person that deals with the crap associated with starting a business. Because people like, I'll tell you, like, if you think starting a business is all about like marketing and growth, like try doing taxes, expenses, like this, all the
it's
bureaucracy,
a whole bunch of dumb stuff.
Yeah, HR, like all that stuff needs to get done, and no one else. You don't hire people to do that at this early of a stage. Like you just do it all. And like I am answering like every one of the support tickets coming in. I am answering I'm doing all the recruiting, all of the HR, all of the ops, all of the accounting, all of the finance. Like that stuff just doesn't get done magically.
It's
like,
why I just call myself a co-founder, like CEO, COO, like any of the C-suite. At an early stage, it doesn't, because it's like, oh, I'm the COO or the CEO. It's like, no, you're the freaking tax person.
Yeah,
you're HR.
Yeah.
the person calling up somebody because they didn't,
Oh, I get
send
yelled
it in
at by
time.
19-year-olds constantly on
Yeah.
our support center. They're just treating me like a piece of trash.
Yeah,
And
they
I'm
have no-
like,
yeah.
oh, if you only knew, I'm trying so hard to make this right.
Yeah, it's
Like,
like, help me, help you.
Yeah.
Help me,
yeah.
help you.
There's a lot behind that. Like, I think that was my biggest lesson. So like I did early startup-y stuff before
Yeah.
this. I was at like a company that was a Series C company called Affirm, the buy now, pay
Yep.
later company. And I was like, yeah, I'm a startup guy. No, not. We were already, I was like employee number like 150, 200 around. And like, I thought I was an early employee. No. Go to number like 2 or 3 or 4. That is early employee status. And like, this is where you're literally building everything from the ground up.
Yeah.
And that's where you can your startup badge is actually truly earned. All right.
As we talk about you getting out of the military.
Yeah.
As we already kind of did a little bit. We're jumping around a bit. Ooh, these are hot. Okay.
Well, I'm nervous. I'm hesitant about jumping into these things.
No. It'll be fine.
You got to pour the
You'll be
water
okay.
out somewhere.
What was your biggest fear getting out? I mean, West Point and pilot, you've done a lot of, crazy stuff, or at least difficult things. Did you know what you wanted to do? Did you want to get out and become a commercial pilot? What was going through your mind? Because obviously things ended up well for you.
It was really interesting. So like I was like a pilot, drone commander. I got my master's when I was teaching ROTC doing unmanned systems, like masters, which was like one of the first in the country because I was at Aeronautical University. And I was like, I'm a shoo-in for like some sort of like defense contractor doing, unmanned systems. And I started kind of poking around to like Lockheed Martin and a few of these other companies. And they're like, oh, so what rank are you? I was like, oh, I'm a major. They're like, okay, you'll come in as that. I'm like, what do you mean as that? Like, oh, as an L4. We call it L4 at Lockheed.
Really?
And I was like, I think I want to get out of the Army because I don't like this like bureaucracy and like this like you're just what your rank is.
Hierarchy.
Yeah. It was like it turned me off completely. And this is where I'm like, wow, it seems like my life's going to be filled with like just a different version of the Army's multiple choice game.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm gonna go into business. I'm gonna go to one of these junior recruiters, like the junior military officer recruiters, like Lucas Group or all the big names that they have out there. And I was like, okay, this is where I get to like dictate where I live because like geography is important to me. I wanted to go to a city. I'm from New York. I was living in like all over the place that was not a city. So I was like, hey, anything on the East Coast or West Coast, I would love. I'm thinking about like something in this field. And they're like, cool. So we have you booked for New Mexico. You're an air track sales device guy. What do you think about great opportunity? You need to take this opportunity.
Yeah.
Do 2, 4, 6 years there. Then like the world's your oyster.
20,
You're going to make like $120K right off the bat. I'm just like, this, like you're as tone deaf as HR is. Like, you just want to place me because you're going to get a check to place me. You don't give a crap where I live, a crap what I do, or a crap what you think about what I think about my own career. So I was like disillusioned. I was like, all right, I'm not dealing with these recruiters. I'm not going into like big military contracting. Like none of this sounds good to me. And like literally, like I was in a really dark spot, just like really sad about it. I'm like, man, do I stick around and just go to Afghanistan and like let the Army just roll the dice for the next 8 years? Because like at least I'll have a retirement, I'll have insurance, like the typical trap that you get stuck in.
Yeah.
That insurance, it's so much.
It's nice.
If you get out, you're not going to get it. And I think that compounded with like the eye issue. And I was just like, I really don't know what to do. And I knew that like I needed to pull the trigger, but I didn't quite. I still had optionality. I haven't like put my refrad paperwork in. That's like the Army paperwork to get out. And that one random day, like right when this was all going down, I was having like an existential spiral. There was this opportunity like, hey, do you want to move to the Bay Area and work at a startup? And you're getting out. And
how did that come up?
Literally, like I think one of the he's now I think affiliated with you guys. Jim Luce?
Yeah. Oh, Jim Lowe.
Yeah.
Put his Instagram handle right there.
Lucas Group, I think he didn't.
That's right.
Yeah. Someone at Lucas Group knew about this startup going in SF that was the whole premise was to place veterans in tech companies. And I was like, you know what? Like, this is a sign. I'm just going to apply right now. Like,
Yeah.
I stopped in the middle of the day and just applied for this, did all of it, did like an essay, just got it out.
Did you know how to apply?
Yeah, it was like, hey, sign up here. And it was like a form. Like, it was a startup. So they were like,
Well, I guess, and it's specifically for veterans. But I mean, in terms of translating your military,
oh no, they were going to
do and all
that was
that.
their thing. They were going to
Yeah.
help massage the resume. They already had interested like companies that wanted veterans for their diversity and inclusion hiring programs. And they were like, I remember I filled it all. I'm like, Lisa, I'm just sending it. Like, I don't care. Like, I just want to see what happens. 2 days later, get an email back. Hey, you're a great fit for the program. We'd love to interview you. And I was like, all right, this is happening. And they're like, hey, your resume, like, we'll work on that. But like, in terms of working with us, like, we're okay with that. We like this. Like, you're a major, you have like a good background. We think you'll be very successful if we place you at a good company. And they were like, let's go do this. Right. And it was called shift.org. It's no longer, but Mike Slaw, he probably knows Tim and everybody else working in your space.
Yeah.
But in the context venture side of things. But I was like, all right. And then like essentially I got some good signals there, some early interviews, potentially placing me at a few different companies. And at that point I'm like, you know what? I think this is the path. It's a city, it's SF. It's like the West Coast version of New York, which it's not, but I thought so back then. The only trick was, how do I convince my chain of command to give me 6 months of permissive TDY on the Skills Bridge program?
Right.
Because this was like right when the Skills Bridge program was coming to life as like an actual like commonly used tool for people getting out of the military. Mm-hmm. So are you familiar with the Skills Bridge?
I am, yeah. I didn't go through. Yeah. I don't even know if it was around when I was getting out.
Yeah.
But plenty of people now who are doing Skill Bridge.
Yep. So like, luckily, like my brigade commander really liked what I was doing in my school and was like, Brett, like, we're going to help you. We don't know exactly how to do this, but 6 months out, just pack up your bag and go do what you need to do to like prepare for the next step in your life.
That's great.
I was very lucky. So like as one of the first fellows on this program, they were having a hard time with chain of command, letting their people go. But in cadet command, it was like a little bit looser and like there was really no precedent. I was a little bit more senior. I was like working with the brigade staff on a regular basis. So like they knew me. Yeah. So when I asked for this, they're like, yeah, we can knock this out. So like, here you go. Good luck. And I ended up going to a firm and it ended up like so many great memories of just like showing up. Like I lived in like a Section 8 like motel, like low income housing motel in Chinatown in SF in a 4-foot by 6-foot box. Yeah. Like my wife came to like send me off because I wasn't allowed to bring my spouse.
Where's she at this
point? They're like, you can't bring your spouse. You have to do this solo and you have to pay for your own lodging. So like I'm scrounging up to have like my Florida stuff signed, like a power of attorney for my wife. I'm like, you need to help move us out of the military. Yeah. Like go down to whatever the Army base you needed to go. It was like a naval base in like Jacksonville we were working out of. And she helped close out the house, get it sold, get it moved. And I just moved to San Francisco, lived in a little tiny hotel and just showed up to work day one. I'm like, hi. I was the head of diversity and inclusion program management, typical program management role for vets. They didn't know what to do with me. They're like, well, what are you? Like, what are you do you know how to type on a computer?
Can fly
I was like, you signed up for a fellow and you have no clue what I know how to do. Like, so they're like, yeah, we're just going to keep you on like the recruiting team and like do the diversity inclusion thing until we figure out like what you were capable of.
Yeah.
And I ended up like over operationalizing diversity and inclusion council. So the chief revenue officer was like, hey, what do you think about doing this type of operational work for new markets and enterprise? And I was like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but I'll go do it. Like whatever you need, send me in, coach. So they ended up bringing me in and hiring me full time. And that was like the very beginning of like the rocket ship that kind of got me here.
I've got a few more questions for you as we wrap up, but I'm not going to let you slink out of not trying.
I know you got me.
I know you were.
I was low key like slow playing it.
Yeah, exactly. You're trying to run out the clock, and you know the great thing about not being in anymore is I can force officers or former officers to do stuff.
Here we go.
So we can do kind of like a little 1-bite score.
Yeah, here we go.
We're still waiting on the pizza, Joe's Pizza. So,
yeah, I don't think it's coming.
At this point in time, I think it's just a hope and a dream.
So you have to do a good stir because these things heat
it's
inconsistent.
just only half heated right now.
Here we go.
The beef shred was not.
You smell this? There's a studio crew in here smelling this, being like, "What are they putting in their mouths?" Here we go. I don't want the chewing noise to like be coming.
Oh no, you want to? It's ASMR.
That's
we do
definitely the absolute opposite of a mukbang right now. Yeah, this is exactly how I remember it. Yeah.
Is it?
Uh-huh.
I remember these being a lot worse. So I'm always pleasantly surprised.
I think they're getting better though. Like I do
think so. Yeah. I don't know if it's the salt or the flavors or
we have the technology. Like, come on, like
tech is improving. GMOs or GMEs.
Food tech, man.
Just something.
Maybe it's because there might be a beer in this red cup. Maybe
allegedly.
Not.
Allegedly.
A beverage, if you will. Yeah.
Out of 10, what would you rate it?
This is out of 10 relative to what? Like restaurants in New York City or MREs? Because this is one of my favorite MREs.
It is. Okay.
Yeah.
So well, I'm glad that
the pasta MREs are like my hot jams. Yeah. Essentially, it's like Chef Boyardee in a bag.
That's what you just got
brings back nostalgia.
So for MRE.
This one's up there, like 8, 9.
8, 9.
What can beat it? I think there's like a veggie.
The veggie crumble?
No, it's like chicken cavatappi or cavatelli or something.
I know what you're talking about. Yep.
That one used to be my favorite, but like at this point, like I think we have a new one, and I think the bread.
Oh
the bread is going to be good right here. So
yeah. No, that's what I would like if like this one, I would just crumble up the tortilla and throw it over together, or like mix up the beans and the beef shred.
Oh,
it's not
so
that.
good.
Well, you can just keep it on the
Yeah, I'm like a little bit nervous.
I doubt MRE stains are ever coming out of any.
I know. I don't want to.
We don't have that in the budget
trouble.
to replace carpets. Yeah. We've got insurance now. We can.
Yeah, we go.
That's an insurance claim, I think.
D&O insurance.
We've got it. We've got it all. Fiduciary, D&O, business.
There we go.
Cyber crime, just everything.
Oh, the cyber kicker. You got it all. Yeah.
So, I mean, okay. So we've had the MRE. We're in your first startup. At any point, going, what did I get myself into? Or were you actually having fun? I mean, being away from the wife, being in an SF, living out of a motel, maybe some bed bugs.
Yeah. So the first like month, I was like, what did I just sign up for? I was like, you know what? I think I might need to head back. Like, the living conditions are crazy. It feels like I'm deployed. I got out of the army not to be deployed. I'm getting out of the army not to be away from my family. And now all of a sudden I find myself in a different city, in a different state, across. I was living in Florida at the time. So I'm completely like isolated from what I know. There's no veterans around me, so I have no support network. And I'm just sitting here being like, what am I doing here? Like, I feel like a fish out of water, and I'm working with group of people that are asking me the most absurd questions, like, so would you consider oh man, I got some crazy hey, I have a really personal question for you. I was like, go ahead, anything. Why are all homeless people vets, and why do all veterans have PTSD? And I was like, those are two incorrect things.
Yeah.
And then she's like, and just like, I know this is a very personal question, but what's your favorite war movie? No. And I was like, all right, yeah, I have some education I have to do here to help these people. And this is why I actually started up the Veteran ERG there. And I that was like an important like part of like representing the veterans is like, hey, pay us the way we should be paid. Let us represent ourselves in the way we want to represent ourselves. And like, let me help educate folks that don't know much about what it's like to be a veteran, or even what it's like to even talk to a military person. Like what's on the table, what's off the table. Like this, like mental health, like I think it was in a good, they were coming from a good place. They really wanted it.
It's never out of a place of malice. It's usually a place of ignorance or curiosity, or you might be the first veteran that they meet. And so I always try to balance that. If there's a question that kind of feels, you know, what's the word?
Tone deaf.
Yeah,
I don't know.
tone deaf or uncouth.
Yeah. They don't even know what they're saying is not right.
Exactly.
To be said.
They just go like, oh,
yeah.
blah, 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 blah. You're
Oh,
like,
so were you ever homeless? It's like, excuse me? Like,
yeah.
so like, SF Tech is a whole scene. So like really like, and that turned me off. I was like, these people don't know what I have to bring to the table. Like it's always going to be an uphill battle for me. But luckily I had a really good group of like coworkers that like accepted me, and I was able to really like push myself to learn quick. Right.
Yeah.
And I think I remember it was a really interesting moment where I was like, is this really happening? I got the opportunity to be a chief of staff pretty quickly. Like a year after I transitioned, I became chief of staff, and we're at like a senior executive offsite. And I was like sitting there, like singing karaoke with my wife. And to my left was Max Levchin of Affirm CEO / PayPal founder, singing with me. To my right, the ex COO of Groupon, another guy that came from like early days of YouTube. And I'm just sitting here with like SF Tech royalty, and I'm just like this like dumb army dude, less than a year out, and I'm just in it with them. And I looked at my wife. I'm like, what's happening right now? Like, is this real life? And it was that I tell that story often. It was that moment where I'm like, this is different. Like, I think they're including me. I think this is like part of my path.
One of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was and from there, the chief of staff role turned into a head of biz ops role. That turned into the company going public. Like there was like just a whole whirlwind of, and then COVID hit, which was horrible, but still gave us a great opportunity for people buying things at home, which Affirm helps. And the company grew really quick. And I learned a lot from really good people.
Yeah.
My old boss, Sylvia, she taught me how it is to be a COO. And a lot of her learnings and teachings helped me essentially secure the role that I'm in today.
There's so much more that I want to talk about, but we're coming up on time. We're going to have you back on. We might have to do a 3-hour, do the old Joe Rogan marathon if pizza actually arrived.
I actually don't think you ordered pizza. I think that was
just it's a lie. No,
it was MREs only, and you're just lying to me.
I had to trick you one way or the other to get in here. What are you doing now, and what does the future look like for Brett the civilian?
Yeah, so about 2 years ago, I came to a small company called Dub. Yeah, was essentially
Gram handle right here.
Yeah, please, thank you. We're growing. Please download today. So it's like a retail investing app. So the way it works is it's a brokerage. So you're actually opening a brokerage account like Robinhood, and you can select the trade to copy the portfolios of retail, like famous investors like Warren Buffett, Nancy Pelosi. You could do things, but that's like the hook. Everybody wants the insider tips. So we have these kind of like mimic the famous investor portfolios. But what I think is really cool about the platform is you can actually copy the trades of other people. So if you had a portfolio and you share it publicly on the platform, I can copy your portfolio. So I have like a veteran-led and owned company portfolio that is all about like public companies that are owned or founded by veterans. And I shared it, and I have like a whole bunch of copiers, a whole bunch of people like kind of following along. And every time I make a rebalance, they get rebalanced in real time. And we're really trying to become like a creator economy / open marketplace / platform for retail investment strategies. And we launched kind of in earnest in February this year. And we are literally, it's crazy right now. Like I'm going to leave this right now and just start working.
I was going to say, like, I mean, there's just so much. I mean, being a startup founder myself, like there's so many rabbit holes we can go into. We just don't have the time, which is unfortunate, but we're going to have you back on to
absolutely
to do a round 2 and actually have pizza this time.
Yeah.
Brett.
Hey, thank you, man.
So much, man.
Absolute pleasure.